something that you and I have talked about before with keto, but also now I think with the carnivore diet and any other type super tribal way. I think veganism is the same way, and vegetarianism is that they can, for many people, become a source of orthorexia, right? And can you talk about that a little bit, sort of this disordered eating around healthy foods and that sort of inflexible, obsessive, shame-based way of doing these maybe good things? It's sabotaging any benefits they may have.
Yeah, I mean, the shame piece is huge. I spent, years living in that world after my weight loss, thinking that like, oh, well, people are only going to love me if I look a certain way. And it was harder to maintain it that way, right? So, I kind of joked, and I used to call it the shame-based diet as a joke, to be like, hey, it works, but it's going to put a heck of a lot of stress in your mind. It's not going to work long term. And I think that's the problem that we face if we become too obsessive about anything. And when something changes your life in the short term, it's hard to not shout from the rooftops, and it's hard to not let go of the reins a little bit. If you feel like you had this insane benefit because keto changed your life and saved you from what could have been terrible demise, you'd have to almost be not human to like relinquish a little bit of that control. Be like, no, this is the one thing that saved me. So next thing you know, you're obsessive, and next thing you know, you're so obsessive is you're becoming more and more narrow with what you eat. And then you start wrapping up your self-worth and your validation in what you eat, because, oh man, if I ever feel like that again, I'm going to be worthless. My husband's going to leave me, and my kids are going to hate me, and I'm going to be a terrible mom. And all of a sudden it becomes your identity. And then it's like the moment when that happens, then you have a cookie, and you enjoy yourself, and you go to a Christmas party, and your entire validation, your entire self-worth is crushed, and you're depressed, and you think it's the cookie that made you depressed. Mm-hmm. Maybe the sugar had an influence. It certainly can, but it's probably a negligible part compared to the fact that your entire identity was wrapped up in not eating that cookie. It's like being a murderer and then being on parole and committing murder again. You're like, oh my gosh, I did it again. Mm-hmm. It's dangerous, and it's a slippery slope. And I've always said it's harder to have control with real food and flexibility to your life. It's much harder to have control and eat those foods than it is to put yourself in a box.